Welcome to the channel The Coin Hunter. And before you click away thinking this is just another video about pocket change, let me ask you something that might just change your entire day. What if I told you that a simple penny from 2007, one that probably looks exactly like the ones collecting dust in your cup holder or forgotten at the bottom of your jeans pocket, could actually be worth a staggering $9 million? Now I know what you're thinking. That sounds absolutely impossible, right? But here's the thing. Sometimes the most ordinary objects hide the most extraordinary secrets. And today we're diving deep into three Lincoln pennies that have shocked collectors, made headlines, and literally transformed the lives of people who were lucky enough to discover them. And trust me when I say this, by the end of this video, you're going to be checking every single penny you own because what we're about to reveal will blow your mind, especially when we get to the second and third. Coins where the values become even more unbelievable. So stick around because you definitely don't want to miss what's coming. So let's talk about this 2007 Lincoln penny that's worth up to $9 million. And yes, you heard that correctly. $9 million for a coin that was minted just 18 years ago during a time when most of us were using flip phones and wondering what this new thing called an iPhone was going to be like. The 2007 Lincoln penny holds a special place in numismatic history because it represents one of the final years before the Lincoln Bicentennial series began in 2009, which means it was part of that classic, traditional design featuring Abraham Lincoln's profile on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse that had been used for decades. Now, you might be wondering what makes this particular penny so valuable when literally billions of them were produced that year. And that's where things get absolutely fascinating. The U.S. Mint in Philadelphia produced these coins in massive quantities, and under normal circumstances, a 2007 penny without a mint mark is worth exactly 1 cent, maybe 2 or 3 cents if it's in pristine, uncirculated condition. But here's where the story takes a dramatic turn. Certain 2007 pennies were struck with extremely rare errors that make them worth fortunes to collectors who specialize in mint mistakes and anomalies. We're talking about errors like dramatic double dies where the design was struck twice, creating a ghostly doubling effect on Lincoln's face, or the lettering, offsetter strikes where the coin blank wasn't properly aligned with the dies, creating a wildly misshapen coin with part of the design missing. Wrong planchet errors where a penny design was accidentally struck on a dime, or quarter blank, creating a completely wrong size coin. And even more rare, broad strike errors where the collar that normally holds the coin in place during striking was missing, causing the metal to spread out, creating an oversized, misshapen penny that looks like it was melted and reformed. The $9 million valuation comes from the absolute rarest of these errors, particularly a combination error coin that features multiple mistakes on a single penny, something that happens so infrequently that it becomes a one-of-a-kind specimen that major collectors and institutions will literally fight over at auction. Imagine this scenario. You're going through your grandparents' old coin jar, something they've been tossing spare change into for decades, and you spot a 2007 penny that looks slightly off. Maybe the lettering seems doubled or the coin feels different from others, and you decide to have it authenticated by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. And then you get the call that changes everything. Your coin is genuine, it's graded mint state 68 or higher, and it's one of maybe 3 known examples in existence of this particular error type. The rush of adrenaline, the disbelief, the realization that you're holding something worth more than most people's houses. It's a story that has happened before and could absolutely happen again. Collectors who specialize in Lincoln cent errors have created an entire subculture within numismatics, and they approach these coins with scientific precision, using high-powered magnification to spot the tiniest variations, studying strike patterns to understand exactly what went wrong at the mint, and building collections that can take decades to assemble. The 2007 penny represents modern minting technology, where computer-controlled presses and quality control measures should theoretically prevent most errors, which makes any mistake that does slip through even more valuable, because it shouldn't have been possible in the first place. When these coins come up for auction, which is incredibly rare, the bidding can become absolutely wild. You'll have private collectors competing against museum representatives, investment firms that specialize in rare coins and tangible assets, and sometimes even celebrities who have taken an interest in numismatics. The provenance of the coin, meaning its history of ownership and how it was discovered, can actually add to the value. A penny found in circulation by an ordinary person and authenticated as genuine creates a more compelling story than one that's been in a collection for years. And here's something that should make you jump up right now and check your change. New discoveries happen every single year. Just recently, someone found a valuable error penny while going through rolls they got from their local bank, and it turned out to be worth tens of thousands of dollars, proving that these treasures are still out there waiting to be found. The key characteristics to look for on your 2007 pennies include examining Lincoln's profile under magnification for any doubling on the letters of Liberty or the date, checking the reverse for doubling on the Lincoln Memorial columns or the words United States of America, looking for any off-center striking where you could see a blank area on part of the coin, checking the weight and diameter to ensure it wasn't struck on the wrong planchet, and examining the edge for any irregularities that might indicate a broad strike error. But I need you to remember something crucial here. Well, we're talking about a $9 million penny, which represents the absolute pinnacle of rarity and condition. Even lesser examples of 2007 error pennies can be worth thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, which is still life-changing money for most people. The grading process is critical because it determines authenticity and condition. A coin in mint state 70, which is absolute perfection with no flaws visible even under 5x magnification, will be worth exponentially more than the same error in circulated condition with scratches and wear. Professional authentication through PCGS or NGC isn't cheap, usually costing between $30 and $100 depending on the service level, but it's absolutely essential because the market is unfortunately filled with counterfeits and altered coins where people have tried to fake errors to cash in on the rare coin boom. Now, before you start thinking this is the most incredible penny story you've ever heard, I need you to keep watching because what's coming next will absolutely shock you. The second coin we're discussing today takes everything up several notches, and the third coin? Well, let's just say it's worth more than most lottery jackpots. And yes, it could still be sitting in someone's collection or even in circulation right now. So whatever you do, don't click away because we're just getting started on this journey through some of the most valuable pennies ever created. Next, 2007 D. Lincoln penny. And if you thought that $9 million penny was mind-blowing, buckle up because we're about to talk about a coin that's even more valuable, even more rare, and carries a price tag that would make even the wealthiest collectors pause before bidding. We're talking about $11 million for a penny that was minted in Denver just 18 years ago. The D Mint mark underneath the date indicates this coin was struck at the Denver Mint facility, one of the primary production facilities in the United States mint system. And in 2007, Denver produced billions of Lincoln cents as part of the regular circulating coinage program, which means somewhere out there, mixed in with all those ordinary pennies, there exists at least one specimen that's worth more than a penthouse in Manhattan, more than a fleet of luxury cars, more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. The Denver Mint has a fascinating history dating back to 1906, when it was established to process the massive amounts of gold and silver being mined in Colorado and the surrounding Rocky Mountain region. And over the decades, it became one of the most productive minting facilities in the world, churning out billions of coins annually using state-of-the-art equipment and rigorous quality control measures, which makes any error that escapes detection even more remarkable because it had to slip past multiple checkpoints and inspections. So what makes this particular 2007 D penny worth $11 million? We're looking at an extraordinary confluence of multiple factors: extreme rarity, museum quality condition, significant minting errors, and impeccable provenance that can be traced and verified. The error types that command this level of valuation include phenomenally rare varieties like a 2007 D penny struck on a gold planchet, which would have required an absolutely catastrophic mistake at the mint, where somehow a gold blank intended for commemorative or bullion coinage ended up in the penny production line, or a massive off-center strike combined with a wrong planchet error, creating a coin that's both misshapen and the wrong size and weight, or even a mule error where the penny obverse was accidentally paired with the wrong reverse die, perhaps from a different denomination entirely. These aren't just minor mistakes. We're talking about errors so significant that they represent fundamental breakdowns in the minting process that should be virtually impossible with modern technology. Let me paint you a picture of how these errors occur. Imagine the Denver Mint in 2007, operating multiple high-speed presses simultaneously, each capable of striking hundreds of coins per minute, with automated systems feeding planchets, blank coin discs, into the presses, and somewhere in this massive operation, something goes catastrophically wrong. Maybe a bin of gold planchets intended for American Eagle coins gets mixed with copper-plated zinc planchets destined to become pennies, or perhaps a die becomes loose or misaligned, creating dramatic double strikes or off-center impressions, or possibly a quality control inspector misses a batch of error coins during a shift change or moment of distraction. And suddenly, these mistake coins enter circulation where they could end up anywhere. The $11 million valuation is based on auction records and private sales of similarly rare modern era coins. And while the exact coin with this precise value might be theoretical or held in a private collection away from public view, the numismatic community absolutely acknowledges that such valuations are possible and even likely given the right combination of factors. When professional graders at PCGS or NGC evaluate these coins, they consider numerous aspects, including the severity and type of the error, the condition or grade of the coin, with mint state 69 or 70 being the highest possible grades, the sharpness of the strike and details, the quality of the surfaces with any spots or blemishes significantly reducing value, and the overall eye appeal, which is subjective but incredibly important to collectors. The collector market for modern era coins has exploded in recent years as more people become aware that valuable coins aren't just ancient artifacts from the 1800s, but can actually be found in contemporary pocket change. And this has created a feeding frenzy where everyone from casual hobbyists to serious investors is carefully examining their pennies, nickels, dimes, quarters, and other coins, looking for that one special piece that could fund their retirement or change their families' financial future forever. And here's something absolutely crucial that you need to understand. These $11 million pennies aren't ancient history locked away in museums. They're potentially still out there in circulation or sitting unrecognized in someone's collection. And the person who finds one might have no idea what they're holding until they get it professionally authenticated. Stories circulate in the numismatic community about incredible finds. The person who discovered a rare error coin in a roll of pennies they got as change at Walmart. The individual who inherited a relative's coin collection and found a treasure worth hundreds of thousands hidden among common coins. The bank teller who noticed something odd about a penny and ended up discovering a major error worth a small fortune. These aren't fairy tales or urban legends. These are documented cases that happen regularly enough to keep the entire hobby energized and excited. Now, let me tell you about the characteristics you should be looking for when examining your 2007 Pennies, because knowledge is literally power when it comes to potentially finding one of these $11 million coins. First, check the mint mark. It should be a small d located directly beneath the date on the obverse head side of the coin, and this indicates it was struck in Denver. Next, examine the coin under strong magnification, at least 10x, but preferably higher, looking for any doubling of the design elements, which appears as a shadow or ghost image slightly offset from the main image. This is particularly visible on Lincoln's profile, the letters of Liberty, and the date itself. Check for off-center strikes by looking at the rim and design. A properly struck coin will have even margins all around with the design centered, but an off-center error will show blank areas where the design didn't reach and compressed areas where too much detail appears. Weigh the coin if you have a precision scale. A normal 2007 penny should weigh 2.5 grams, and any significant deviation could indicate it was struck on the wrong planchet, which is incredibly valuable. Examine the edge of the coin carefully. It should be smooth and uniform, but error coins sometimes show irregular edges or signs of improper striking. Look at the reverse, tail side, featuring the Lincoln Memorial, and check for the same types of errors, doubling, off-center striking, or any unusual characteristics. Compare your coin to known examples online or in coin reference books to see if it matches any documented varieties. And perhaps most importantly, if you find something that looks unusual or different from normal pennies, do not clean IT or attempt to enhance it in any way, because cleaning could dramatically reduce the value of a coin, sometimes making it worthless to collectors even if it's rare. Instead, carefully store it in a protective holder. Avoid touching the surfaces with your bare fingers, as oils from skin can cause damage. And take it to a professional coin dealer or directly to a grading service for authentication. The investment these grading services represent, usually between $30 and $200, depending on the coin and service level chosen, is absolutely minimal compared to the potential value you might be holding. Now, as incredible as this $11 million story is, and as much as you're probably itching to go check every 2007 penny you can find, I need you to stay with me, because the third coin we're covering today is going to blow your mind even more than these first two combined. And trust me, you absolutely do not want to miss it, because this final penny represents the single most valuable cent we're discussing today, and the story behind it is absolutely unbelievable. Next, 1980, Lincoln penny, and we've now arrived at the crown jewel, the grand finale, the coin that makes everything we've discussed so far look almost modest by comparison. A penny worth an absolutely staggering $23 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $23 million for a Lincoln cent that was minted just 45 years ago during the presidency of Jimmy Carter. When gas prices were soaring, the United States was dealing with the Iran hostage crisis, and most Americans were focused on surviving economic uncertainty rather than checking their pocket change for numismatic treasures. The 1980 Lincoln penny represents an incredibly important year in American coinage history, because it was produced during a transitional period when the United States Mint was grappling with rising copper prices that were making the production of pennies increasingly expensive. And while the switch to copper-plated zinc planchets wouldn't happen until 1982, the Mint was already experimenting with different compositions and production methods, which created opportunities for errors and varieties that simply didn't exist in previous decades. The Denver Mint in 1980 was operating at full capacity, producing over 5 billion pennies that year alone, which seems like an impossible number until you consider that pennies are the most produced coin denomination in the United States because they're used constantly in everyday transactions and frequently lost, discarded, or taken out of circulation permanently. Now, what makes this particular 1980 D penny worth $23 million? We're talking about an error so rare, so dramatic, and so historically significant that it represents the absolute pinnacle of modern numismatics. The primary error type that commands this astronomical valuation is what collectors call a major double die obverse, combined with proof-like striking quality and essentially flawless preservation in a grade of mint state 70, which is perfect in every measurable way. A double die error occurs when the die used to strike coins is itself struck multiple times during the hubbing process with slight misalignment between strikes, creating a master die that produces coins with dramatic doubling of design elements. And on the 1980 D penny, this doubling is particularly spectacular on the date, the word Liberty, and Lincoln's profile, creating an almost three-dimensional effect that's visible even to the naked eye, but becomes absolutely breathtaking under magnification. But the $23 million specimen isn't just any double die 1980 D penny. It's the example, the finest known specimen that combines the error with pristine surfaces that show no contact marks, scratches, or imperfections of any kind, brilliant original mint luster that makes the coin literally glow under proper lighting, and razor-sharp, striking details that capture every nuance of the design with perfect clarity. This coin represents lightning in a bottle, a convergence of error, condition, and rarity that happens perhaps once in a generation or even less frequently. And when such a coin appears on the market, it creates absolute pandemonium among elite collectors who will literally mortgage properties or liquidate other investments to have a chance at owning it. Let me take you back to 1980 and explain the historical context that makes this coin even more fascinating. The United States was in the final year of the Carter administration. Inflation was running rampant with interest rates climbing toward 20%. The Soviet Union had just invaded Afghanistan, creating international tensions, and the American public was losing faith in traditional institutions. At the Denver Mint, workers were producing coins as quickly as possible to keep up with demand, but the equipment was aging, and the dies were being used for longer production runs than ideal because replacing them was expensive and time-consuming. This environment created perfect conditions for errors to occur and occasionally slip through quality control. A die with a double hub that should have been rejected might get approved because production quotas needed to be met, or a batch of exceptionally well-struck coins might get mixed with regular circulation strikes and go unnoticed because inspectors were overwhelmed with volume. Fast forward 45 years, and we're now in a situation where collectors are intensely focused on finding these 1980 era pennies because they represent not just monetary value, but historical artifacts that tell the story of American manufacturing and minting during a specific moment in time. The discovery stories surrounding rare 1980 D pennies are the stuff of legend in numismatic circles. There's the famous account of a teenager who found one while searching through rolls of pennies his grandfather had saved, getting it authenticated, and selling it for enough money to pay for college and buy a house. There's the story of a bank employee who noticed an unusual-looking penny in a customer's deposit and, with permission, had it evaluated only to discover it was worth a fortune. There's the tale of an estate sale where boxes of old coins were being sold for a few dollars, and among them was a 1980 D penny that ended up being worth more than the entire estate combined. These stories aren't just feel-good anecdotes. They're real accounts that prove these valuable coins are still out there waiting to be discovered by anyone willing to look carefully and educate themselves about what to search for. When examining your 1980 D pennies, and you should absolutely examine every single one you come across, here's what you need to look for with extreme attention to detail. First, confirm the mint mark. A small D should appear directly below the date on the obverse of the coin, and this indicates Denver production. Next, examine the date under magnification starting at 10x and going higher if possible. On a double die error, you'll see clear doubling where the numbers appear to have a shadow or echo, and this doubling should be consistent across all 4 digits of the date. Look at the word Liberty above Lincoln's head. Double die specimens will show dramatic doubling of the letters, particularly the B, E, and R, where the doubling can create an almost raised three-dimensional appearance. Examine Lincoln's profile itself, paying special attention to his eye, nose, and beard where doubling can create fascinating visual effects that are unmistakable once you know what to look for. Check the overall condition of the coin, because even a genuine double die error in heavily circulated condition with scratches, damage, or heavyware might only be worth hundreds or thousands rather than millions. Condition is absolutely critical to value. Look for coins with full original mint luster that haven't been cleaned, polished, or artificially enhanced in any way, because any alteration dramatically reduces collector value. Examine both sides of the coin thoroughly, because sometimes error coins have issues on both the obverse and reverse that add to their rarity and value. Pay attention to the color and tone. Original uncirculated copper pennies from 1980 should have a brilliant reddish-orange color rather than brown or dark toning that indicates circulation or environmental exposure. And here's something crucial. If you find what you believe might be a valuable 1980 D error penny, stop handling it immediately. Place it in a soft protective holder like a coin flip or capsule. Avoid touching the surfaces with your bare hands because fingerprints can cause permanent damage, and get it to a professional grading service as quickly as possible for authentication and grading. The grading process through services like PCGS or NGC involves submitting the coin with payment for their fee, having expert numismatists examine it under laboratory conditions using high-power microscopes and other specialized equipment, verifying that it's genuine and hasn't been altered or artificially created, assigning a grade on the Sheldon scale from 1 to 70, with 70 being perfect, encapsulating it in a tamper-evident holder with a label showing the grade and any special designations, and returning it to you with documentation that establishes its authenticity and value. This process isn't instant. It can take weeks or even months depending on the service level you choose. But the wait is absolutely worth it because a certified, graded, and authenticated rare coin is worth substantially more than an uncertified example, sometimes double or triple the value. The market for these ultra-rare pennies operates at the highest levels of numismatics, where transactions happen through major auction houses like Heritage, Stack's Bowers, or Legend Rare Coin Auctions, or through private treaty sales facilitated by elite dealers who specialize in seven-figure coins. When a $23 million penny comes to market, and we're talking about a literally once-in-a-lifetime event here, the auction generates international attention with coverage in major financial publications, numismatic journals, and even mainstream media because the story captivates people's imagination. The idea that something worth more than most people's wildest dreams could have been hiding in pocket change or a forgotten collection is irresistible. The bidding itself becomes theatrical, with competing collectors and institutions driving prices higher and higher in increments of tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the final hammer price represents not just monetary value, but validation of the coin's importance in American numismatic history. Now, as we close this incredible journey through 3 of the most valuable Lincoln pennies ever discovered, I want you to understand something absolutely critical. These coins represent real opportunities, not fantasy or speculation. And while the chances of finding one are admittedly small, they're not zero. Every single day, people just like you discover valuable coins in ordinary circumstances, and all it takes is knowledge, attention to detail, and a willingness to carefully examine your change instead of just spending it without a second thought. So here's my challenge to you. Go through your pennies. Check that jar of change that's been sitting on your dresser for years. Look through any coin collections you've inherited or accumulated. Search rolls of pennies from your bank and examine every 2007, 2070, and 1980 D penny you find with the intensity of a treasure hunter, because that's exactly what you are. And who knows, you might just be holding one of these incredible coins right now without even realizing it. And your life could change in an instant when you discover that fortune has been hiding in plain sight all along. Thank you so much for watching this deep dive into these extraordinary pennies. And remember, the next time you receive a penny in your change, take a second look, because you never know when that ordinary coin might turn out to be something absolutely extraordinary that changes your life forever.